Hello and welcome my fans to Glam's new video. I will be very quiet in this video because my voice kind of still hurts and it's very painful to talk. I will still try my best to entertain you all as much as possible while I try to choke down cough drops and pray my voice does not get hurt worse than it already is. I did not lose my voice, but it does hurt to speak, which means I hurt my vocal cords, and I could lose my voice if I push my voice too long. It could be from anything from talking too much to not drinking enough liquid, which I don't think is the right one. It could be though. I usually work for hours on end and don't get to drink my soda very often. I was in and out of the bathroom all day today because I was drinking more liquids than usual. The only reason I was drinking more liquids was because my throat was hurting all day. And it hurts to speak. I hope that my AI system can edit and amplify my voice a little bit for you guys to still be able to hear me properly. But I am basically going to be reduced to a whisper. But a lot of people wanted me to do ASMR anyway. So it's quite fitting. Something that can help a little bit is cough drops, because they give a nice cooling sensation on my throat. But honestly, I think I need warm tea and a good night's sleep, and maybe to film less for a few days. But I can't really put an end to my filming on Sandra, as this is something I like to do, and it's the only thing that really makes me happy. But it could also be stress that leads to my issues, as stress can really hurt you, bring you down to nothingness. The only reason I know I'm definitely not sick is because I have the same amount of energy that I always have. I don't feel warmer or colder than I. And I know it's not humidity levels that have changed, because I tend to keep my room quite humid for my plants' sake, spraying them occasionally, and even putting on my humidifier with some mint extract and lavender to help me sleep and breathe properly at night. Every little thing I do is to optimize my space, to fit my needs, and prioritize health. I like talking, which is why I tend to try to film, and me knowing that it's probably not a good idea to keep talking is deeply saddening to me. I know I don't always talk during my videos. I don't always have something to talk about. But when I finally do have something to talk about, and it be something that directly means I probably shouldn't be talking at all, my brain for some reason doesn't want to stop. And it's getting insanely bored with the fact that I probably shouldn't be talking, and laughing, and joking like I usually do. But you know what, that's okay. I was talking definitely a lot softer today than I normally do. I'm just glad I didn't get any people in the drive-thru that could not hear me. Normally I have to yell a little bit for some of my customers because they can't hear very well. Do not go through the drive-thru if you need someone to yell at you. Honestly, at that rate, I'd rather a deaf person come through the drive-thru because at least they know better. And they'll write it down, have something else do the speaking for them. Because there is voice, text-to-speech, and they are very clever people. But for some reason, these dumbass old people think it's okay to make people yell at them just because they can't hear and refuse to get any form of helping device. I don't like it when people purposely disable themselves. If you have sight, use what you have, and if you don't have sight, get some glasses. If you're blind, you use other things to see. Your hands. I always clean the signs for the bathrooms that have braille for blind folk, but I've never had any blind people come in to order food. I still make sure the signs are in proper condition and perfectly clean though. Earlier today, me and my other coworkers were discussing a new coworker who's coming back. She originally left because she was getting stalked by her ex-husband. And we all had stories about a time we were stalked. And my male manager was being very like, I make sure to stand first and protect you guys, right? Because he's such a nice person and very genuine. All of us are very good people and very genuine, which is why I appreciate my team so much. Do we struggle with things? Yes. Do I know that my male manager does struggle with things? Also yes. But I also know not to blame him for his disabilities. It isn't an excuse for why you're bad at your job, but it is why they are having the issues that they do. Their forgetfulness, their lack of attention. I don't think it's really their fault, but I think their brain is slowly becoming dementiatized, or however you call it. Even his wife seems to believe that he might be falling with dementia, as he's becoming more forgetful than usual. Which is terrifying, because he still has children that are quite young. They're old enough to take care of themselves, yes. But he's struggling to keep up. Which is a terrifying thought. Forgetting yourself is one of the scariest things I could ever imagine. Anyway, there were 2 instances where I had to deal with a person stalking my account online. As I am a YouTuber now, I do have more and more run-ins with people who are either pedophiles and or sexual offenders and stalkers. The more popular I get, the more likely this is to increase. But I also know that they should be terrified of me, because if they give me a reason to hurt someone, I will take that as an opportunity. I don't want to see people hurt, but I also know that I would if someone gave me a reason. I'm not the type of person to raise my hands against another, not as my first impulse. I was taught, think first, act later. And I do take my time to think. Mainly because I know sometimes my initial thought is in a reaction type manner, but I don't like to react. The only time I do fully react is when something comes near my face. I don't think when something comes near my face, I immediately react. Things get punched and fists come up. I don't like it when things come near my face. I learned that very quickly when I accidentally hit my friend's kid in the face. I didn't want to hit him, but it was my initial reaction to getting my glasses smacked off my face. Do not touch my glasses. They're my utensils to see. I did explain to him why I reacted the way I did, because I felt bad for hitting him, but he never came for my face ever again, so he learned his lesson. No, I do not condone hitting kids. But if you accidentally do, because, if you get hit in the face, you're gonna react. Some people don't react, but that's an individual experience. Some people can prevent reacting at all after they get hit in the face. I cannot. I will in fact react very quickly and immediately if someone hits me in the face. I have to apologize because, well, I didn't mean for it to happen. I'd like to bring this story up. It's okay to make mistakes, as long as you try to amend them. I also made him apologize for hitting me in the face, because that's not okay. And since he's a good boy and very gentlemanlike, he did apologize. Same thing when I yelled at him for kicking the wall and unplugging his TV. It's like, I know you're hyperactive, But that's not what you can. You can pedal on your indoor bike to get some energy out. And he's allowed to bring it outside of his room if I am there. I no longer babysit the kid, but that's because he's in school now. So I don't have to. He is no longer my problem. And I am very grateful that he is no longer my problem. I think it's funny, as soon as I said I was done babysitting for my friend, one of my coworkers was like, "Oh, so would you babysit for mine?" And my immediate reaction was, "How much are you gonna pay me?" I did it in a very serious tone too, because, well, if I'm ever gonna babysit, I would like to get paid. I don't mind babysitting with my friend, but she also is helping me with literally everything in my life. When it comes to setting up for my schooling, I would not be in school right now if it wasn't for her. I owe her a lot, which is why I didn't mind doing it without pay at first. I didn't need to pay up front to feel like I was there, but I'm also the first person to be there whenever she needs help. I don't think I'm her emergency contact, I'm pretty sure someone else is. But she's definitely one of the first people I would call if anything bad happened. Because, well, bad things can happen, and she is very quick at arriving. My mother would be like, "I'll be there in an hour or two." She'd show up immediately and help out as soon as possible, because that's the kind of person she is. She is extremely helpful, and she is a very good person. And that is why we've been friends since middle school. It's because we both saw good faith in each other. It had nothing to do with our personalities or likes or interests. We have completely opposing likes and interests. She likes cars and very masculine things, while I like very delicate and dressing up. The one main thing we actually do have in common, though, is that we both like to draw and do art. We don't do that in the same time, though. We do those on our own and like show off our art separately. Because, well, we like to do art in silence, and or with a video or a movie. We like to do it mainly alone, not with other people. I did help her sort the beads for one of her diamond heads, though, and when she found out that I had the exact same paint by number that she did, but she lost the paint sets for, I gave her mine. And I did tell her that I did have to replace one of the paints with a different one because it was completely and utterly dried out. But it was perfectly okay. I just replaced it with a different white paint that was metallic. I wish I could have found my actual white paint, but the only one I actually really have easy access to is my giant tub of white paint that I got for when I teach art to others for fun. I've always liked the idea of being an art teacher, but I also do not want to be a teacher because I don't really want to be around kids. I like the idea of being a psychologist. I'm mainly gonna try to work with dogs, but I probably will end up getting pushed to child psychology because I'm very good at understanding how children think, because some of my tributes tend to be quite childish. They'll tell me where I fit best when I end up trying to be a therapist. But my main study is therapy, because I believe anyone can heal from their pains and their past. Anyone can fit their personal schedule with their loved ones. You just have to know how to divide your time. And it is a very difficult learning process to divide your time properly, because we all have goals and dreams we want to accomplish and complete. But we also have people who need our time and our energy in order to feel loved and wanted and cared for. Which is why people find it so difficult to choose between being a parent and or being a career-driven person. And some people say, well, why can't you do both? And I'm like, well, you can, but you have to know how to divide your time properly. And I've been argued with many times on, I do divide it just fine. And I'm like, but do your kids know why you're leaving? Do you explain to them that I really wish I could be home right now, and I really miss you all day? Every single time I come home, I'm so excited to see you. And you have to be prepared to have those conversations with your children. Because it's difficult to be a working person. The reason one of my coworkers works where she does now is so that she could have 4 days a week to work and then have the rest of the time with her kids. Because she wants to actually be home. She wants any excuse to be home. And she doesn't need that much money, because her needs are very basic and very simple. You don't need that much money in order to live a happy and fulfilled life. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to have acres of land. You just need to have community and comfort. And you can have comfort without having a lot of money. I live in a very comfortable life, but that's also because my dad sacrificed a lot of his time to work very hard to make a lot of money. He owns his own business. He works for a lot of restaurants. It gave me a whole ton of connections with people that I would never know if I didn't have my father be who he is. He is very popular now, but he was also never home. He was working all the time. My first home was borderline half the size of a small mansion. And it was because he basically built most of the house as additions and make it. He worked very hard to be able to afford to do that. But me and my brother still wished he was home more. That's why we kept asking for specific things that you could build with your hands, like a tree house. We wanted him to build it with us. And so we asked for it, and he built it with us. I was very bad at asking for things because I never knew what I wanted. But it's not like any of my family members knew I was autistic, or that I thought differently than everyone else, or that I was just different fundamentally. And that's not their fault. Can't really know how fundamentally flawed a person is. Even sometimes I struggle to say that I'm autistic because I never had a proper diagnosis. But I fit under all of the criteria. Every autistic person in my life who has been diagnosed says I fit the criteria also. They were like, how did you never know? It's because nobody asked. Nobody talked about it. Even mental illnesses were kept under wraps in my family. Until I became older and asked a lot more questions and studied about it. I wouldn't have known how I thought was different unless someone told me I thought different. I didn't know who I was. I've always been fundamentally flawed. Not a bad way, but like, never been typical. And everyone else could tell that there was something off, that I was living in a different world. I was living in my creativity. I was living in my happiness and joy. And I was being me the whole time, despite being judged because I couldn't tell what I was. I could feel people's resentment or anger because I'm hypersensitive to people's emotions and their mood shifts. But I didn't know I was like that either. And I couldn't really understand emotions. Even now I still struggle to. But fundamentally, the way I handle my mood and other people's is by just nodding along. I always kind of just accepted that people were the way they were, and the world is the way it is, and you can't do anything about it. Not alone, at least. You need multiple people behind you to create any real change. I want to live a very simple life. Sure, I love costumes, I like dressing up and makeup, but and I might like to eat the same meal over and over again, but I like quiet, I like art, and all of my hobbies can, in fact, cost money, sometimes a lot. But if I could give it to other people, just enough to fund my hobbies, but not enough to make money from them, to live a life of balance, I think I'd feel very happy, because I'd make money from my job as a psychologist or therapist, and my online would just pay for my hobbies. You can enjoy me doing my hobbies, and I can enjoy my hobbies. Because I know some people's hobbies is just watching others. People watching is a very interesting hobby. But it is, yet again, a hobby. Thing people can do to pass time brings them joy. my friend said your personality really shows up whenever you are filming or doing YouTube. And well, she's right. One thing she said to me though is, I get offended quite easily, but it's really hard to get offended by you. Because you just have such a genuine, sweet smile. It's so nice. But I do smile and I do talk with genuineness that a lot of people can appreciate. My honesty has always been kind of troublesome in a way. Something I always think about is that if you don't like something, you should make rules to not have to deal with it. When I was in school, I really liked horror movies. And I still love horror movies and love to watch them. I find them fascinating. High school movies, teachers thought I was gonna kill my friends. I did not want them to be harmed ever, and I did not care if anyone was emotionally hurt by my story. But they never wanted to hear out the ending, which never made sense. I wanted to write about people's traumas, in a way. Things I saw, heard, and thought, and felt. Write out my frustration. I was a lot less creative when I was a kid, though, because every single time I let my colors fly, people would tell me to not do it, or it's too much, or you crossed a line. So I eventually gave up on creativity altogether at one point. Which you can think is sad or upsetting. But not everyone will take something you say lightly, which is why it's very important to me to listen to people and hear them out. I want to know what they've been through and how to help them. Some people do not want help. Some people really don't like listening. Those are the people that are lost causes usually. Those like my brother. He already spent his last chance. He's doomed. The thing a lot of people don't know about, and I don't really talk about it because it's none of my business, is technically my brother was in an abusive relationship before. He used to get his ass beat by a woman, and he would never hit her back. But now he talks to himself, alone, in the kitchen, and he reminds me a lot of our Aunt Sharon. She ended up in a mental hospital. She showed the same signs my brother is after she was attacked from behind by her husband. She was abused by a man and by her sister and by her father. And never got help. And it broke her. Now she has to be on high notes and kept under watch. Currently she's in a nursing home. I mean, it makes sense. She's around my grandmother's age. They're both quite up there in the years. I just hope neither of them will suffer any longer. I really hate to see them being so much pain. I know my grandmother is racist, a little bit homophobic, but she did open up to me once about her bisexuality. Well, the only reason she ever rejected a woman was because she was married at the time to a man. The only reason she was never an engineer was because of him. Was because of men. So one of the main things I said to this one girl at the bus stop while waiting for my mother to get out of school was, you should definitely pursue something in the form of STEM, science, math, because you're far too intelligent to let your brain waste away. I did not know this woman. I did not know this girl. But I definitely believe they should follow some form of career in science and or math. If you like art, pursue it on the side for fun. Because art is always more fun when you do it alone and do it for yourself. There is no perfection in art. Sure, there are rules and fundamentals we can follow, but that's only when we want to. Because there are times where it's more fun to break rules and fundamentals. When I drew the ballerina, her legs were too short, and they were broken. Her arms were longer than her legs. any artist with theorists, an artist, or critique would notice that. Some of my friends didn't like when I would never praise them for something they did, and that I only came with logic and perspectives, and they never asked for a compliment. I'm not really the compliments type. Maybe because I don't know how to react to them or how to give them very well. Like, they say something is good, but then it feels like lying. There's something slightly off that's bothering me. That's usually why I phrase things of, does it look like how you want it to? Then it is perfect the way it is. Just because I wouldn't personally do something a specific way doesn't mean it's bad or wrong. It just means it's different. Which is why I usually like to say that, especially to younger artists. Especially when they're trying to find their own art style. Because I appreciate art and everything with it. But the friends that I used to critique would try to draw anime characters, which do have a very specific set of rules. And it's not like they were drawing their own version of the character, or a fan art version. They were trying to recreate a photo of the character. And then, if you're trying to recreate something, there's always going to be something you can tweak. Like when I was drawing Jared, and My Hero Academia character's hands look a little weird to me. And I refuse to draw something that bothers me. So I took my own personal touch of it and made the hands look how I wanted, while still following the reference. I recommend that for everyone. No. Do what makes your heart happy. But if someone tells me they're trying to copy something, I'll tell them how to fix it to make it look more like what they were trying to draw in the first place. If they were coming up with their own creative art, like when one of my friends drew one of my OCs. Occasionally they would ask for perspective, or I don't know how to draw the ears this way. And so I would just draw it myself. A lot of people say, oh, you're so fast. But it can be kind of a curse when you're with other artists, because they feel inferior sometimes, and it's a little upsetting because they're not inferior, we just draw at different speeds. My brain processes certain information differently than others. That's the only reason I draw differently than others. It's not my fault that we're both human and function. completely different. And yes, no matter what stage of life you are at, whether it be beginner or expert, your art is still good enough. One day of these days, in one of my videos, I'll show you a piece of art that I love very dearly that my friend and me traded for. I gave her my art for hers. I have her piece of art hanging on my wall. I also have every single piece of art anyone has ever given me hanging on my wall. Because I appreciate art, especially if I can feel the emotions the artist put into the artwork for me, which is what makes it so special. Is how much they tried their effort behind. That girl might have been the worst self-respected. It's okay, because she put in the effort, and not everyone is meant to be creative. That's why some people are artists, and some people admire art. Both are very useful to the world for different reasons. One gets to make the world a little bit more colorful, the other gets to appreciate it, and they put their own skills into the world. Everyone has a completely different purpose on this planet, and we all should work together to achieve each and every single one of them. Help building our future's asset as much as we possibly can, because we don't know what the next generation can even afford to live, especially if our current generation increases every ounce of homelessness. Anyway, I'm gonna go to peace, love, have a good day, I'll see you next video.